Dans la capitale des universités, une télévision s'installe. Télébeltorbe, la télévision de l'information.
And welcome to another edition of Political Period.
Wap gérer santé, wap gérer la vie, parce que santé, c'est richesse.
Jeff Session, en pile question à poser aux observateurs, est-ce que son façon pour le président américain?
Télébeltorbe, c'est la télévision de l'éducation.
Nous nous connections avec toute activité communautaire.
Télébeltorbe, la télévision de la spiritualité.
Thank you, Jesus, for you set me free.
Télébeltorbe, c'est la télévision de la distraction.
Malgré tout, avec la voix de Tian Sito.
Télébeltorbe, très bientôt sur Woko. Télébeltorbe, c'est la télé.
Roll to the primary election in Boston. My name is Erlich Dorelas. The world will be bumpy. We'll take you to the D-Day, September 14, 2021, Tuesday. A good day to vote. You're going to cast your vote and you will decide. We'll report the stories. Today we have with us the City Council at-large candidate, Alex Gray. Welcome to the Télébeltorbe, Mr. Alex.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure. It's an honor to be with you today.
A pleasure for us to have you as well. Why are you running in this race, Alex? Tell us why.
It's a great question. You know, I'm running for two reasons. The first, professional. You know, my work has brought me into every single neighborhood in this city. I worked for Governor Deval Patrick, advised him on transportation when he launched the Fairmount commuter rail line in the neighborhoods of Dorchester, Mattapan, and Hyde Park. I worked for Mayor Marty Walsh to help create Boston's first tuition-free community college plan, working with schools throughout our city. So I know that I can do the job on day one because I've worked in every single neighborhood in the city on so many of the big issues. And then on a personal note, you know, as somebody with a disability, you know, like so many groups, the disability community was hit hard by the pandemic. So I think it's really important that folks with disabilities have a voice on the city council moving forward. If elected, I'd be Boston's first blind city councilor and only one of two currently in America.
In a couple of days will be the election day, the primary day for the election. How was it campaigning outside? Knocking doors.
Well, it's been quite a summer. I mean, we started with weather. I believe Memorial Day was about 45 and rainy, and I think it rained every single day in July, and we hit, I think, 100 degrees a few times. So it's been quite a weather-filled summer, but it has been also really great to connect with people. We've knocked, closing in on about 18,000 doors that we've knocked across the city. And we've had so many good conversations with people at their doorsteps about the issues that matter to them. You know, how do we create more housing for our city? How do we improve the quality of all of our 125 Boston public schools? How do we make transportation more accessible and reliable? So it's been a really good opportunity to meet people where they are at their doorstep, and hear from them what matters to them for their city and their future.
What is the core value of your campaign?
What is the what?
The core values of your campaign.
You know, I think that for me, it's how do we, you know, I like to say that dignity is the most important thing to me in life, because dignity is something that people find themselves, and when they find it, nobody can take it away from them. So, you know, the work I've done in my career when I started in the Mass Housing and Shelter Alliance, fighting for funding for affordable housing that took unhoused people to allow them not just to be housed but to remain housed, and again the work I did for Governor Patrick on the Fairmount commuter rail line, for Mayor Marty Walsh on the tuition-free community college, all of these were programs that gave people dignity. You know, they allowed them to find self-respect and meaning in their lives. And for me, again, I will fight every single day to create policies and programs and to be a city councilor that listens to people and tries to help them find dignity for themselves, because again, I think dignity is the most powerful thing we can find for ourselves.
What is your plan to provide housing and job training for homeless U.S. veterans living in Boston?
Yeah, it's a great question. Certainly our veterans have given so much to our country, and you know, when somebody puts on that uniform, it's a sacred bond between our country and those individuals, and we owe them as much as they've given to us when they've served. And you know, I think it's so important that we provide housing that's not just affordable, but that's physically accessible, you know, for our veterans, for our seniors, for our folks with disabilities, you know, the ability to find a place that's not just affordable, but physically accessible, you know, that has a ramp to get in, or has an accessible bathroom, or has hallways that a wheelchair can get through. It's so important to me. And then, you know, when we look on the job training front, you know, we need to be creating pathways, not just to jobs, but to careers that pay good wages and give people the benefits they deserve, healthcare and retirement. You know, 40 hours a week should be enough. Folks shouldn't have to scramble 2-3 jobs, working all hours of the day. And, you know, so we need to link Bostonians from all neighborhoods of the city to the jobs of the future. You know, life sciences, coding, technology, you know, green jobs as we start to make our city more climate resilient. You know, it's just a matter of, we have a very strong Office of Workforce Development in our city of Boston, but, you know, love to be a partner with them and just to continue the work of expanding opportunities to all folks. And our veterans certainly need to be right at the top of the list when we think about that work.
What is your plan once you are elected to model this legislation so as to hire more minority union workers, given this new allowance for the waiver of merit requirements to gain government employment?
It's a great question. You know, I think that, you know, I've had the opportunity to work in my role with the City of Boston on a number of partnerships with unions, whether it's the Building Pathways program with the construction trades or the Best Corps with the hotel and hospitality. And, you know, a good union job can be a pathway for not just an individual, but their family to financial security. You know, the ability to buy a home, you know, to be able to set their whole family up with good health care, to be able to get a pathway to a comfortable retirement. So, you know, I think we just need to continue the work of programs, like I said, Building Pathways and Best Corps, you know, to expand, you know, the number of individuals in that pipeline, you know, from communities of color, keep pushing them to unions. And I think we just need to continue the work of expanding unions throughout as many sectors of our world as we can. You know, there's going to be an important conversation around some of the gig economy. And, you know, I think one of the big things that we need to do is just keep telling the stories that, you know, Joe Biden likes to say, you know, unions built the middle class and the middle class built America. We need to get back to that as a core value of our society, where we respect the roles that unions play. And I think if we continue to do that, we'll start to see, you know, unions find themselves into more sectors of our economy. And then my hope is that that will trickle down to folks that are hard hit, you know, economically, you know, communities of color, immigrants, people with disabilities.
If you were elected September 14, 2021, how would you help the city track the number of low-income students who graduate BPS K-6 schools so that they get a guaranteed slot in non-public school like neighboring private school, private academies, and Massachusetts boarding school for the fall 2021?
Yeah, it's a great program. It's a great question. And, you know, certainly we get asked at the doors over and over and over again around education. You know, we've, you know, the 50,000+ kids in our Boston public schools are, you know, one of the most precious commodities we have as a city, and we need to do everything we can in all 125 schools to ensure that they have all the resources they need, you know, in terms of the physical buildings that they're in terms of the resources they need to learn, not just in the school, but I think we're finding in the midst of COVID, but also the resources they need to study at home and over the summers and over vacations. So, you know, I think it's a matter of, you know, to your question about the tracking, I think, you know, it's a matter of communication, it's a matter of transparency, ensuring that information is shared so that we're aware of problems, if they are going to pop up, that we're aware of them early and that we can act on them and come up with a plan to make sure that we're moving things in the direction that they need to be going.
We still on COVID, the pandemic still exists, and what would you do if elected to ensure better access to COVID-19 resources?
Absolutely, it's a great question. I mean, I don't need to tell anybody watching this how hard of a year it's been. You know, we've been forced to do things that we never imagined. You know, we've had to celebrate holidays away from our families. You know, we've had to teach our children at home, and, you know, oftentimes juggling, you know, the roles of an employee working from home if you're so fortunate, and a tutor to your student who's not able to get into their school. So, you know, I think that we really as a society, you know, need to stand up and, you know, help each other through this. I think we need to continue to follow the science. You know, my mother was a 40-year, she's now a retired nurse, so, you know, we need to follow the science, we need to follow the CDC, we need to follow Dr. Fauci and whoever is giving us the best information. That's so important. You know, we need to make sure that the vaccine is readily available and folks know about all the benefits of the vaccine, you know, that it's the best tool that we have, you know, to reduce infections, and even when we have these breakthrough infections, limit the impacts of them. And I think we need to make sure that we're communicating this message in the areas, you know, that are not where we would love them to be in terms of, you know, vaccination. Certainly, we need to, you know, go into areas. I know Mattapan is at the lower end of our vaccination rate, so we need to really work hard and do whatever it takes. And, you know, I think we need to, as we look forward, you know, COVID's going to be with us for a while. You know, we thought we maybe had started to turn the corner. I think we all had those feelings of optimism, and, you know, the last month, give or take, has brought us back in a direction that we didn't want to be in. And, you know, I think whether it's, we need to really make sure that, you know, if we're looking at booster shots in the future, or whatever the next round of vaccinations look like, that we're really centering our conversations by folks that are really hard hit, you know, seniors that may not have access to transportation, you know, folks with disabilities that might not be able to get out to get the vaccine, and that also have home care attendants who need to be vaccinated so that they can travel, you know, to visit our seniors and folks with disabilities. And again, it's those communities, you know, often communities of color, that really need access to these life-saving and, you know, protective medications. So those are a few ideas.
As a journalist, I spoke to so many constituents in my community. They always came to me and said, Erlich, we're watching the campaigns, all the candidates always making promises. Why the Asian American in Boston should vote for Alex Gray?
You know, one thing I like to say is that, you know, I wasn't born a good listener, but I became one when I went blind. And I've had to listen to succeed at anything that I wanted to do in life, whether that was in school or at work, or to even be a good family member or friend. And I think that we can all agree that after 4 years, where it feels like on cable television or on social media, the loudest words always ruled the day, day after day, that we need listeners in positions of leadership now more than ever. And, you know, I've made a career of listening to people, hearing their stories and taking action, and that's exactly what I would do if I was on the city council. I would spend every day listening to the constituents and making sure that their stories are reflected in the conversations in the city council and the policies that come out from that body.
Thank you, Mr. Alex, for coming to Telebelltop, and thank you for coming to the show.
It's my pleasure to be here. I'm happy to come back at any point.
Thank you very much. All right, the D-Day, Tuesday, September 14, 2021. I report, you decide. My name is Erlich Dorelas. Have a blessed evening, everybody. Thank you very much.
Dans la capitale des universités, une télévision s'installe. Telebelltop, la télévision de l'information.
And welcome to another edition of Political Period.
Wap jere santé ya, wap jere la vie ya, parce que santé, c'est richesse.
Jeff Session, en pile question à poser aux observateurs, est-ce que son façon pour le président américain?
Telebelltop, c'est la télévision de l'éducation.
Nous nous connections avec toute activité communautaire.
Telebelltop, la télévision de la spiritualité.
Thank you, Jesus, for you set me free.
Telebelltop, c'est la télévision de la distraction.
Malgré tout, avec la voix de Tiansito.
Telebelltop, très bientôt sur Woko. Telebelltop, c'est la télé.